so be kind, and hopefully this will all go smoothly. So I'm going to do intros of our partners who are co-sponsoring this in just a moment. We're going to talk about our shared values and why this election matters. And then we're going to ask the important part. We're going to be asking the candidates some questions that we've prepared, some quick fire questions, and then questions from the audience as well. So that's kind of what our night looks like. You can keep going, Andre. There we go. Yep. A reminder that this is a C3 nonpartisan event, so we will not be endorsing any candidates. We don't endorse any candidates. This is really intended to be educational and encourage you to get out to vote. Okay. So one of our sponsors is the Michigan Education Justice Coalition, which we are a proud member of. It's a grassroots coalition with members all around the state. There's similar school board candidate forums happening all over the state. We are parents and students and community members and educators who believe that every student in Michigan deserves healthy and healing public schools. This part should be easy. Student Advocacy Center. I'm the executive director, like I said. We are headquartered in Washtenaw County with just up the road in Ypsilanti. We have offices in Detroit and Jackson. We have a statewide student rights helpline. Last year we served more than 900 students, which is a record in our history since 1975. Families call us from all over with challenges with school discipline and special education, and we're there for them and do more intensive work in districts like Lincoln and others. We believe education is a right and that every student is worthy of a quality education. We provide advocacy, support mentoring, and engage in community organizing. And Andre is our community organizer. You'll get to see him in just a minute. Community Action Network is one of our community partners, and they're here tonight. They'll be asking one of the questions. They envision the closing of socioeconomic gaps by providing educational and enrichment programs for children and teens, supportive services for families who are under resources, and challenging systems rooted in racism and inequality. They do a lot of work in Ann Arbor, but they also do work here in Lincoln, so we're so glad that they can be with us. Thank you so much for being here. And We Rock is here as well, and they bring together faith, labor, community organizations, and individuals to build healthy collective power needed to break down systems that sustain injustices, racism, and economic inequality. And Pastor Harold's here, and he'll be asking a couple questions as well. So that's our partners who are helping co-sponsor tonight. We appreciate all of you. And we'll move on to talk about why do school board elections matter anyway? Why are we here on a Thursday evening? School boards make decisions about the budget, about school discipline, which is something that we're particularly interested in, strategic direction of the district, and much more. They also hire and evaluate the superintendent. And by the way, they have very hard jobs. They often work very long hours and don't get a lot of thanks. So we like to thank everyone who's here and people who run. It's not easy, especially I would say right now and through the pandemic. What's at stake right now? Students who are most impacted by the pandemic continue to struggle with academics and social emotional needs. I'm sure anyone who's in education could tell you that, or parents could tell you that, caregivers. Despite those soaring needs, our schools have, frankly, too few people, right? And too few financial resources to respond often, and that's some of the work that we're fighting for statewide. Families who are most impacted by inequities are often not part of district decision making across the state. That's a challenge that school districts face. There are also growing threats around the state and the country of defunding and the privatization of public schools by capitalizing on hot button issues such as race and sexuality. And then in Michigan, there are long-term inequities that require full funding so that schools get the resources needed for all students, no matter the zip code that they are in. So the Healthy and Healing Public Schools platform was developed after listening sessions were held all over the state, and right around 2020. Actually, it started before the pandemic and kind of continued into the pandemic. And this is what families across and educators across the state sort of came up with as the MEJC's platform. So one, our schools must be equitably and fully funded. I know our school boards often wish that they could have more power, and that's those state decision makers, but we hope you'll join with us in fighting for that in our state legislature. Public schools need to prioritize and invest in mental health. Curriculum needs to be rooted in the principles of anti-racism, anti-oppression, and trauma-informed practices. Public schools need to create structures to bring in student, parent, and caregiver voice and leadership. And public school budgets need to reflect our values and needs. Okay, we have Lincoln Consolidated Schools has 2 full-term open seats and 4 folks are running. They're all here tonight. And 1 partial term open seat and 1 person's running that. And so we'll try to remember to remind you at the end, but obviously we want you to vote. That's kind of important. Early voting's already begun, and election day is coming up pretty quick. So make sure you make your plans if you haven't already to vote. We encourage you to commit to becoming an education justice voter. So there's QR codes around for folks here, or if you're on the screen, hopefully you can make that work and scan it and commit to that. And we have all around the state, folks have been invited to fill out the same questionnaire. And so if you want to learn more information today, I know not all of our candidates have had a chance to fill that out here tonight, but some have. So we encourage you to go to that website and look and see how they responded to different questions. And then you can compare, like maybe you used to go to a different school district, or you're just curious how other folks are answering that. So I encourage you to check that out. And if you want to encourage others to vote, there's trainings happening almost weekly for how to use an app called Empower. It is so easy. I'm not super tech savvy, as some folks here tonight could attest to, but you download it on your phone, and it actually just helps you kind of connect with your own friends and family and encouraging them to vote. So it's super easy, and the training's super short. And it's an easy way to encourage people to get out the vote this season. So I definitely encourage you to do that easy step. And okay, there's going to be a statewide candidate forum on October 27th. MEJC, that website should have information about that as well. But you'll hear directly from candidates running for governor and state school board and where they stand on critical issues. So wanted to make sure you were invited to that. Okay, that's all the stuff we had to get through, and we'll get to the good stuff now. I'm going to hand it over to Andre in just a minute. And so we have several guests who are going to be asking questions tonight. And the candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each of those questions. And Andre is going to be sharing what order you're going in. Each time it'll be different. And then we'll have several rapid fire questions. And those of you in the audience, I have some, there's note cards in or I have some. And so if you have, I've already gotten one. If you have a question that you want answered, write that down and give it to me, and we'll ask that after the rapid fire questions. Sound good? All right. Gonna hand it over to Andre.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Andre Parker, and I'm the community organizer for Student Advocacy Center. Thank you for coming tonight to this very important event. It is very important that our community gets involved in school board elections and schools themselves. the relationship between parents, teachers, the school board is very important. A healthy relationship with the community, from the school board, through the teachers, and through the parents, makes the community go. We are here to help bridge that gap. We thank the candidates for being here tonight, and being open to answer questions from the community and answer questions from our organization. From the order, we'll just go in order from left to right. So Stacey will go first, Ms. Kine. Sorry. And then we'll reverse order just back down, right? So our first questions come from Pastor Harold.
Good evening, candidates. I'm Jeff Harold. I pastor New Beginnings Community Church of Washington County, and I'm on the Voter Rights Action Team for the Washington Regional Organizing Coalition. My first question to each of you is, what are the steps you would take to include and engage parents, caregivers, and students in district issues such as the budget and equity plan? Can you specifically address caregivers and students most impacted by inequities?
Hi, we do absolutely need to reach parents more, and by all means, that should include letting them in the buildings as well to see how their students and how their teachers are doing whenever they please, not just by appointment. They should be able to stop by. I am aware that we have been sending out district emails recently, and I think that is absolutely superb. We should also include in those emails Board of Education meetings. It's really sad when you don't see any parents sitting in the Board of Education meetings to know what's going on. We should also host some, the board members should host maybe at the local library a coffee hour to ask the board members what they want to ask, what they're concerned about in their child's education, what's going on in the community, and have an open door policy beyond the superintendent. It doesn't always have to be, we don't always have to be spoken to with the superintendent. You can go to those meetings, the coffee hour, and talk just with the board members, and we could do a good job to bring that up to the superintendent as well. With parents that find it hard to come to the board meetings, we should maybe make it available during for Zoom meetings, or have a public broadcasting so that everybody can feel more included, because I understand not everybody's able to come to the board meetings every 2 weeks.
I definitely think an open line of communication is something that needs to be reestablished and re-emphasized, not just for the positives, but the negatives as well. Even though things may not always go the way that we would intend or like them to go, we feel it's very important that we make sure that the community as a whole understands and knows what's going on. And with that being said, we have to show an inviting spirit. So anybody as a parent of an adolescent as I am knows that talking to somebody that doesn't necessarily want to listen to you, it's very frustrating and infuriating. So we have to show that inviting spirit, that we're concerned about what they want to say and what they have to say, and we're listening and actually taking that into account. We've been doing a great job, and we just need to continue on that path. We have to use all forms of media, whether it's digital, in person, print, the robocall. Again, continuing to celebrate our wins, acknowledge when what problems exist and what steps we're taking to fix it.
Thank you. You just heard from Jason Moore. Matthew Bentley.
Thank you. So we know students whose families that are involved in their school experience, they're more likely to have higher grades, higher test scores, attend school more regularly, have better social skills, show improved behavior, and adapt well to school. And with all that being said, like, we encourage parents. We encourage parents to come to board meetings, to get involved. I know my wife is super involved at school, and I, not unfortunately, but I got to do that too by her telling me where to go. Unfortunately, even though parents are invited, they can attend board meetings. Most don't find being involved in the budget plan, like this is about budget equity, that exciting. I mean, I can have 250 parents come to my Take Your Dad Bowling night, but they don't want to sit and hear about the budget, which I guess if everything's going well, that's a good thing. We're in the process right now of creating a district strategic 5-year plan. I'm sure parents, students, and members of the community will all be invited to be part of this process. I hope that we do a good job of advertising this to all our families to get more involved. We did the portrait of a graduate, and everybody was invited to that, and that was done over Zoom. So, people were able to have access to that maybe couldn't get to the meeting. So we've done a good job of trying to reach these people, and hopefully we continue to do a good job.
Thank you. I'm going to take a point of order. I know everybody's looking at me. Look at your parents out here and look at the parents in the camera. That's probably a better place to look at. Mr. Ortiz, Christopher Ortiz.
Hello, my name is Christopher Ortiz. This is my first time running for a school board. I'm a firm believer that your children are yours, not the schools, not the government. They're your children. If they do something great, everybody else is going to take the bows. If they do something bad, they're going to hold you responsible for that child. I believe that the door should always be open for a parent to come in and visit their child to find out what they're doing in the school, how the teacher is acting with the student, how other students are acting with other students, and to stop the bullying. Now, I understand I hear a lot of stories, being on the board, I hear a lot of stories of people telling their kids they're being bullied, and they speak about it, and everybody tries to hush it up. We have to take the good and the bad and handle them equally. And I believe that they're your children. The school board and the school should work hand in hand with you to help you, because you're the first line of defense for that child. You see if they get their homework done, if they're behaving, if they're acting up, or there's a problem in the house. Work together, because the future of this country is in your hands, and they're called your children. Thank you.
I have the pleasure of asking the second question as well. And this time we're going to start with Jason Moore. What should be your school's top spending priorities in its budget? Alternatively, what should not be prioritized, or what should be divested from in the budget? How will your budget support education justice specifically?
Okay, thank you. For my personal top priorities for the budget, including our staff, our employees, the wonderful people that come to work every single day and help guide and teach your children, whether they are providing transportation, whether they are providing meal service or education in general. So that is one of the top priorities. I also believe technology is a high need area. Once again, just to be able to communicate, and on those times, we just came through a 2.5-year pandemic where, kids had to learn at home, do virtual learning, and they were stuck. Not every kid had primary access to sustainable or consistent internet access. So in case of that, we need to make sure our technology is top-notch, and health resources, mental health awareness, and physical health. I appreciate the fact that the RISE Clinic is located in the district, and that children have the opportunity to be taken care of. That way they're not distracted or worried about any issues. They can get the help they need. As we know, the social emotional learning piece is paramount right now after this weird 2 years. As far as deprioritizing or divesting from, I really hesitate to say what we should take money from, but I do rely on the expertise and the subject experts in that. I understand I'm not in education, but I will take their advice and recommendation. It'd be foolish for me to sit here and say, we should take money from this, that, or the other without doing my due diligence and research. But again, I rely on the subject experts to come and propose what is probably the best course of action at the time. Everything is a priority.
Thank you. Mr. Bentley.
I think our top spending priorities should be whatever, best helps the students flourish. From tech integration to allocation of staffing, whatever will help Lincoln, look up there, whatever will help Lincoln students accomplish more, meet and exceed their benchmarks, and develop new skills. This might include increasing funding for social workers. I've been a teacher for 24 years. This is my 24th year teaching. So I'm in schools. I see what kids are going through. With the trauma, they need help. And so with trauma counselors and school psychologists for students and the staff members too. There's some staff members that have been struggling with this, something, to, help them out. I also support, funding for after-school activities. Kids need to find their group, right? There's sports and, I'm a huge sports fan, but not everyone's into sports. I mean, I've talked with, administrators about clubs and different things to get kids involved. Kids need to find their group. If they find their group, they're more connected to the community. They're more connected to the school. There's going to be less behavior problems because they care about coming to school. They care about where they're at. So I would support that. And as far as what should be, taken out of the budget, I'm along with Jason. I know my role as a school board member. I listen to the experts. They know what's going on with the budget. Where our money is being used appropriately. So I listen to what they say. I trust all of our administrators that they're going to make the best decisions for Lincoln students.
Thank you. Mr. Ortiz?
As far as budgets go, school boards and any other organization has to run their budget the same way a family runs their budget. Put their money where it's best going to be suited for the child. I would like to see, as far as monies go, allocated to teaching the kids that there's something else besides going to college. You can learn a trade and make very good money. You can go in the medical field, everything else you want to do, you can do it. And we should never stop our kids from going and shooting for the stars. Help them, move them along, spend whatever money you have to allocate to keep that child interested in school, to keep that child interested in his community, so that we don't have people that grow up that can't read cursive. I have a nephew, my nephew and my grandson, they graduated out of Troy High School. They cannot read cursive. I gave him a checkbook and asked him, fill that check out. And he graduated, he doesn't know how to fill out a checkbook, to write a check or balance a check. These are important skills that children must learn. That's it.
Thank you. And Ms. Kine?
Hi, I think that we absolutely need better individualized academic support for all students. There needs to be more one-on-one. Students aren't going to always raise their hand and tell you that they're struggling. They have standardized tests to tell you kind of how good and how bad students are doing. So we do need more one-on-one support throughout the year and for every class. We need to pay the teachers better for better retention. We need to make sure that the teachers are happy because, if the teachers aren't happy, they're not going to do their job very well. And we need to keep the teachers in the school if we have a teacher shortage. Another issue would be the busing. We need to figure out a better busing budget because for our district, it's just not working out. I understand that we have a lot of angry parents about busing situations, and there's always bussers quitting or retiring or getting fired and then quitting. That you can see that every board meeting. We need to support the special needs students better and make sure that they're all getting their IEPs. From my understanding, in every district, a lot of those students are having more trouble getting the IEPs, especially since more children are needing them. And if we could do something to save the money, I would say, and I feel kind of bad saying it right here, but I'd say maybe we need to cut some of the administration's, the higher-ups pay. They get the highest pay every time, and the teachers are left in the dust, and they're the real heroes doing all the hard work, taking care of the kids, making sure that they're getting good education. So that's what I would do.
Thank you all.
How do you intend to protect students from abuse and discrimination, specifically those marginalized due to their sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression, race, and disability status?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
It's on the.
Oh, no, okay, no, I just wanted to hear,
Oh, okay.
hear him.
No, you can, go ahead, say it one more time, nice and loud.
Oh, we
How
got
do
him
you
already.
intend to protect
Little bit
students
louder.
from abuse and discrimination, specifically those marginalized due to their sexual orientation, gender identity, or expression, race, and disability status?
Okay.
I think I'm first. I'm committed to help and be a voice for all students and staff members of Lincoln. All right, we have to work together as a team on examining, our own privilege, identifying and addressing the ways racism, homophobia, and other oppressive behaviors show up within our district. We have to partner with our families and students in ways that build power, honor their expertise, celebrate their differences, listen to their voices, and have brave conversations. We are committed to fostering an environment in which all individuals are valued, respected, and learned from. Currently, our school board is doing this. We're taking steps by participating in equity training. Before 6 of our board meetings this year, we're being trained in equity and dealing with all the things that you asked about. We're taking classes throughout the year that address these issues.
Well, in fairness, it doesn't really matter what your sexual orientation is. You are a human being. You are a member of God's creation. My eldest son, which I love dearly, was gay. He still is. He's gone through a lot of ups and downs. I've marched in his parades. He was at the University of Michigan, everything. And it didn't matter to me whether he was gay or straight. Didn't matter. He was my son. He was a creation of God. And God doesn't make junk. And no one should judge another person by their sexual orientation. We're all wired differently. One way or another, each one of us is different. But if you cut us open, we're all going to bleed the same. Our internal organs are all the same. So just because you love someone that you shouldn't, society says you shouldn't love, you still have the right to love that person, and you have the right to exist and to keep on. He's gay, so what? I have nieces that are gay. Who cares? As long as they don't hurt anybody, they're true to themselves, true to society, true to the country, it doesn't matter. And if you single somebody out because you don't like the way they act, the problem is with you, not with them. That's it.
I absolutely have to agree with Mr. Ortiz. It really doesn't matter if you're gay, straight, black, white, purple. It just doesn't matter. And I don't really think that children have ever judged other children by that. That's something that's learned. And to handle that, some sort of disciplinary action like that would be the same way we would handle any disciplinary action, depending on the infraction. You would have to be disciplined. Everybody has to be disciplined no matter who they are, even if it's a gay student bullying somebody else, you just have to get disciplined. And that's regardless of their socioeconomic factor. Bullying is bullying, and I have no tolerance for it. The school should have no tolerance for it. Bullies should be handled accordingly and make sure that they get a right punishment. They shouldn't just get to come back every single time into our system or get blown off. I know that this district has a huge bullying problem, and it's dangerous for the students. The bullies do need to absolutely be handled in an appropriate manner. So.
I definitely believe in being available, standing up, as Trustee Bentley mentioned earlier. The board is taking part in a 6-part equity training course that's also going to be offered to the teachers and staff in the school district as well. The important thing is making sure that we celebrate our uniqueness. Everybody is made differently. Everybody is wired differently. But we're all people, as the previous candidates had said. So it's important that we celebrate these differences and we cherish what makes us unique. I know firsthand, Bishop Elementary School has the I Am Special Because program, where the kids get a chance to, write and what makes them special, why they feel they're special. I'm learning about the Lincoln Middle School. My sixth grader, they have the Where Everybody Belongs program, as well as the automatic program, which will be started, where students get a chance to say what's important to them, how they feel, and kind of cherish each other. And not only that, they get to put it on display for other students and parents and visitors to get a chance to see it. So I think those are very important and key in making sure that we do continue to celebrate the uniqueness of everybody.
Thank you.
Candidates, we just ask if you would just move the mics a little bit closer. Just our online cannot hear the questions or the answers sometimes. Our next question will be asked by one of my coworkers. He is a student advocate. He is actually in this, it has students in this district and also in Ypsilanti Community Schools. Myron.
Candidates, I want to say thank you again for being here on a Thursday evening. It's good to have you here and have conversation with you regarding our lovelies and the school district that they attend. My question for you is, what steps will you take to reduce suspensions, expulsions, and disciplinary placements into virtual school in your district?
That's mine. Okay. Suspensions should be carried out if a student oversteps themselves. They should be suspended and show just cause why they're being suspended, not just because someone doesn't like their parent or they speak out against the school board or they say something that off the wall. A child should never be held responsible for its parent. But if you're going to do something about bullying, you need to do it and suspend them for at least 2 weeks, right off the top. No, we're going to talk to you, we're going to send you to class. Let them feel the pain and let the parent feel the pain of having to take care of that child while they're at work. So it's up to the parent and the school to work together hand in hand to bring that child in line and do what you have to do as a parent. Because if you don't, you're going to start having real problems with people shooting, stabbing, beating. You see it on the TV all the time, where a larger student picks on a kid because he doesn't like the way he dresses, or he doesn't like the way he talks, or he doesn't like the way he eats his lunch. It's up to the parent to discipline that child and to hold them responsible. And if you have to single them out in front of the rest of their friends, do it, because you're doing that kid a favor. Because he might cross that line where that person that he's attacking or hurting will not get up. And you don't want that to happen. So it's up to the parent to take control of their child and to help the school board, and the school should help that parent discipline that child, whatever it takes. There it is.
Hi. Well, depending on what happened or the infraction, I do absolutely usually believe in second chances. So I do think that there should be some sort of mediation between the two parties, depending on what it was. You can't just be the snot out of somebody and expect to have a mediation with an apology. Second time suspension, and you know what Chris said, he's absolutely right. Let the parents handle that, because you know what? The parents are going to be very upset that they have to take time out, make sure their kids getting their education still, and deal with the school showing up to meetings on why their kid did what they did. Third time expulsion. They shouldn't just keep getting chance after chance, otherwise things are just going to continue to happen. Just in this, I believe, high school in particular, from a parents group, they said that there's fighting in the bathrooms every day. Nothing is ever done about it. They're afraid, they can't wait for their child to graduate because they're afraid to have them here. So the fight club needs to stop. That needs to be taken care of. So there should absolutely be consequences. And as far as, I believe we do have virtual options in this district still. There are students that still attend virtually, so that could absolutely be an option. Will their parents or family be happy with it? No, but they'll still be getting an education that they deserve. So that's my view on that.
I believe suspensions, expulsions, they are very reactive. Obviously, nobody wants to be suspended or expelled for any reason. There are extenuating circumstances. What we need to do as a school board, as parents, as staff, is to try and be more proactive, so that it does not come to that point of suspension or expulsion. We need to have these difficult conversations, letting the students know, you know what, there are consequences for your actions, and not just a simple, don't fight or you get suspended. We've heard that, I've heard that since I was growing up, but really understanding, you know, what leads to it, have other measures, address other measures of conflict management, if you will, just so we can see and help the students kind of understand more how to be a champion of justice, a champion of conflict, and trying to figure out what the problem is and not just get to the root cause and not just stick a band-aid on by sending kids home. Again, I understand there are extenuating circumstances. So we should definitely try to be more proactive as we approach these situations. Really good difference growing up. So, you know, having somebody talk to me and letting me know other measures I could take would have helped me to prevent me getting in trouble as much as I did. So those are just some of my thoughts on it.
I am very fortunate to have 3 students in the district. I have a high school student, I have 2 middle school students, and I am very glad that my students are able to use the bathroom whenever they want, and not one time has any of them seen a fight in the bathroom, so I'm very glad that our school is taking care of that, and everything's great. Dealing with discipline, I love being on the school board. I was appointed a year and a half ago. Dealing with the discipline, being a school board member, having to sit in a discipline hearing and deal with that is terrible. I need someone to talk to after that. We have to look at each student individually and really look at how we can help this student. What restorative practice have been considered or implemented to address the behavior of violation? Restorative practices should be the first consideration for offenses. We also have to create a community where students are valued and they feel they are a huge piece of the community. Like Jason was saying, we have to do things on our end first. All right, if students feel they're important and belong, they're most likely not to do things that are going to lead to disciplinary issues. Make students love their school, their teachers, their fellow classmates. If you love your school and what you do, you're not going to want to destroy things. I graduated from Michigan State University. I love Michigan State. If I go up to campus, I'm not going to destroy a bathroom. All right, I love my school, and that's why I want kids to feel here. And guess what? We're getting there. Kids are loving Lincoln. Students are going to away games and getting more involved with the school. I see the school pride firsthand. All right, I don't see it on Facebook. All right, I see kids in the school that are involved in the school, and they're loving Lincoln. We want to keep that going.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Kayla, who works for Community Action Network.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My question for you all is, what will you do as a board member to improve the timeliness and access to transportation in the district?
Well, first off, we would have to obviously pay the bus drivers better to keep them in our district. We need to have more of a competitive pay to retain our bus drivers. They put up with a lot. Not only do they put up with the angry parents, they sometimes put up with some misbehaved children. They need somebody to sit alongside with them. I don't know if they do or they don't. but they need somebody to sit with them, another adult, a support adult, have them help keep the kids in line. We do need more bus drivers. That's what we need. We need more bus drivers, and we need to have more competitive pay with the other districts. I don't know why our bus drivers keep quitting. I'm not on the board, I cannot answer that. But if we want to retain bus drivers, we need to pay them better. We need to give them benefits. That's a couple of things that we need to do.
I think you asked the million-dollar question. As a lot of people know, there is a national shortage of bus drivers, not locally, not statewide, nationally. So everybody is facing the same issue. We are continually and constantly working to try and improve our transportation. This is a big hurdle. We actually just had a situation where a bus stop was not meeting the necessary needs of the community, and parents came out and spoke on it, as they should, to a board meeting. So from there, we actually had multiple members of the board, our own superintendent, drive around to these bus stops to see how it was affecting, where is the bus stopping, and following the letter of the law, the policy, and the community wishes, determining what would be the best course of action. We since then moved the bus stop to a better location that feet, 50 feet, 100 feet, forgive me, I don't remember the number exactly, so that it does serve the community better in particular. Not every situation is going to be that easy. Will that situation remain perfect to everybody? Probably not. Will everybody be satisfied with that? Probably not. But we have to continue to work to try and make this better. It's not going to go away anytime soon, again, because of the national shortage, but we want to make sure that we are offering an opportunity for the community and the bus drivers and the staff itself to kind of come and talk to us so we can figure out what is the best course of action to transport our students safely and efficiently as possible.
As Jason said, this isn't just a Lincoln problem. This is a problem all over the country. One of my good friends is the head of operations for Livonia Public Schools, and it's just a running joke. He always says, if you found a bus driver for him. I mean, he said, 5 people walked in to be a bus driver, you hire him right now. So it's not just Lincoln, it's everywhere. And you know what? Lincoln is actually doing a good job of using the drivers that we have. Last year, our bus cancellations were minimal. In personal experience in Livonia, every week we had 5 buses canceled. It was a rotating schedule. I do parking lot duty, so all those cars were coming in extra. So, you know, every week, 5 different buses were canceled there to inconvenience parents at that district. So we're actually doing a good job of keeping what we have. We've added sign-in bonuses. We've added bonus pay for drivers that have been to work every day. So that if they are at work every day, they get extra money. Everyone knows if you pay people, they're going to come. It's like, you know, the movie in the cornfield. If you build it, they're going to come. If you're going to pay them, they're going to come. And we're doing our best to do that. We just have to, you know, promote what we're doing at Lincoln and how drivers can earn extra money and hopefully get more drivers.
Well, I don't think it's so much as pay to the driver as it is respect to the driver. I've spoken to the ladies that drive the buses here at the schools, and they tell me the horror stories of how these children act on the bus. It's like the parents are away, the teachers are away, I can do what I want, I can say what I want, I can scream at them, throw things at them, and you couldn't pay me enough money to get behind the wheel and be responsible for all these kids when they're screaming and hollering at you, calling you names. I'd stop the bus, get out, and throw them out, because you do not disrespect someone who's trying to help you. And again, I hate to go back to it, but it goes back to the parents. If there's no respect, there's no holding above you, and you think, well, you're my parents, so what? Shut up, go tell me, don't tell me what to do. Then they turn around, they do this to people in the public life. And then one of these days, this person's gonna snap, grab the kid, set them in their seat, and forcibly sit them down, and then the parent's gonna scream, hey, you can't touch my kid. Again, it falls to the parent. These are your children. Show them respect, they will show you respect. Because when they get to the real world isn't gonna coddle you like mommy and daddy. There you go.
Thank you.
So this next round, we'll call it the speed round. And we're just looking for affirmative yes or a no to these questions. And we'll start with Mr. Ortiz.
Go for it.
Data transparency for school discipline is a key step in accountability. You can't address a problem you aren't measuring. Will you commit to publicly reviewing discipline data on a regular basis?
Oh, yes.
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 Michigan students experiencing homelessness are disciplined at a much higher rate as they struggle with trauma and instability. But many districts do not consider that in the required 7 factors consideration for suspension. Will you commit to advocating that your district add an 8th factor requiring consideration of the child's housing status and work on developing discipline processes that involve the homeless liaison? Ms. Kine.
To me? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
It's gonna help students be more successful in school? Yes.
Of course. Yes.
And I threw a curveball in there. Sorry on the order. Increasingly, more Michigan students are being forced to attend virtual school for discipline reasons, but they are not afforded basic due process rights. Will you commit to advocating for basic due process rights for students facing disciplinary placement to virtual school, including the right to due process meeting? Start with Mr. Bentley.
Yes, students need to be in school. Yes.
Mr. Moore.
Yes.
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 And now we have some questions from the audience that I will read. Mr. Moore, we'll start with you. First question. Much has been said about what should and should not be taught in school, particularly concerning America's history regarding race and racism. What is your view regarding the teaching of history in regards to race and racism in our nation?
Well, I definitely think that true history, all factual history, needs to be taught. Again, not everything was peaches and cream. Not everything was wonderful, and there were wonderful accomplishments throughout time, but we have to make sure that we tell the good and the bad and the ugly. Telling the truth will only help us to grow and develop as a society, so we shouldn't just stop on or focus on just the good things or try and put a spin on it so it makes it look like, you know what, there wasn't anything, yeah, this bad thing happened, but really, this is what came out of it. We should definitely make sure that every kid knows that there was, this happened, that happened, and we grow from there. It's not just a one-way answer. So making sure that we know the entire story will help us to develop and learn and grow from our mistakes and our accomplishments.
Ms. Kine.
Oh. Yeah, we should absolutely keep the real true history in the history books. If we don't learn from our mistakes, they're going to happen again. We do need to keep the history with racism, hate, all of it. We need to keep all of it in the books because that's happened even in biblical times. There's always been racism, hate, all throughout the years. Even to this day, you'll always find it. We do need to read it. We do need to learn from our mistakes, and we do need to keep it around. We don't need to try to hide it, otherwise it's going to happen again.
Mr. Bentley.
As Ms. Kind said, you know, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. So, yes, we need to teach students, you know, what happened in our history. I'll also rely on our experts at this. We have a great curriculum director, Karenza Smith. She's awesome at what she does. She does a diligent job of looking at our curriculum. I have full faith that any of our curriculum she will look at to make sure that it's addressing all of our students' needs.
Mr. Ortiz.
A lie hurts forever, and the truth only hurts for a few seconds in life. If you don't teach the correct, not revisionist history, but true history, as they said earlier, you're going to repeat it again and again and again. We are not perfect people, but we're people, and we have to accept the good and the bad, the honesty and the lies, and know the difference. Where it says stupidity is someone who listens to a lie and believes it and ignores the truth. That's stupidity, and we are not going to be stupid people. We will look at our back past and say, this is wrong. We will correct it. We will try to do the best we can and move on to the future. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, next question from the audience. Have you ever been kicked off, blocked, or otherwise restricted on a social media site for bullying or abusive behavior or for sharing false partial information? This includes posts under your own name or under a pseudonym. And we'll start with Mr. Moore.
No, I haven't.
Me?
Yes, Mr. Bentley, sorry.
No, I have not.
Mr. Ortiz.
No.
Absolutely, I have.
Are there any more audience questions?
How excited those Lincoln students are to be at school at 7 o'clock.
Okay, here's a question. I heard online a school board response to bullying was don't engage with the bully. What actions would you take to make kids feel safe and welcome? And we'll start with Mr. Moore.
So again, it comes down to communication, definitely being more proactive. We say don't engage with a bully, and we want kids to remain safe. That is the ultimate goal. But we have to start the conversation way before it gets to the point of bullying. And it kind of encompasses everything that we've talked about tonight. The open line communication, celebrating uniqueness, speaking on consequences and repercussions, making sure that everybody is aware that, you know what, not everybody is like you. Matter of fact, it's very rare that you're going to find somebody exactly like you. I have a 6th grader, my son, he has a friend that him and his friend love Minecraft, personal story. So he loves Minecraft. He gets on and will be on that computer for, hours if we let him, which we generally don't. And he'll get upset because he can't play Minecraft all night. But then he'll go and find somebody else and go outside and play basketball or throw around the football. And there's somebody that likes that but doesn't like computer games. The point of the story that I'm making is people like different things. So we celebrate our uniqueness. We engage in those difficult conversations, letting people know that, hey, not everybody's going to like the same thing, but there's opportunity for you just to have fun regardless. So that's where I stand with that.
I'm gonna popcorn around Mr. Ortiz.
A bully is a coward. They're always going to pick on somebody smaller than them, weaker than them, or different than them, because they are lacking in the ability to take life as it comes to them. I always told my boys and my daughter, if there's a bully in school and you tell them to stop and they don't stop, and you tell the teacher and the teacher won't stop them, then it's up to you as an individual to defend yourself. Your rights stop when your body touches mine. I told my daughter, haul off and smack them one, and they won't do it again. And it happened. The boy kept bothering her. She socked him in the nose. He never touched her again. And if that's what it takes, and once that goes on, and these bullies are going to know, gee, I got something to lose. Everybody's going to make fun of me because I got punched in the nose by a girl. They're going to stop. But if we coddle them and let them run to their little safe rooms, the world will chew them up and spit them in the garbage. So it's up to us to set the example. You let a bully know these are the things that could happen to you if you continue what you're doing. And usually the bully is a bully because there's something lacking in their life. And as parents and as educators, our job is to find out what is that lacking and try to correct it before somebody corrects them. Thank you.
Ms. Kine.
You know, I find that such an odd thing to say, don't engage in the bully. So are you supposed to just turn around when you pass them in the hallway? I don't understand what that means. If they ever told me or my kids that, that would be really unacceptable to just not engage with the bully, especially if, you know, my child was not at fault. You can't just totally not engage with the bully. You're in a class with them, you have to engage. You're in a school, you have to see this person. So there is disciplinary action that needs to be held. My boys are taught as well that if somebody messes with you, if they hit you first, you have every right to hit them back. You know, if the school's not doing anything about it, then you have the right to take it into your own hands. My kid will not be pulled on, pushed. They will stick up for themselves, and I think it will get to the point for any kid that's what will happen. They'll lose it. So either the administration handles it or the student's going to handle it themselves. And, you know, bullying has led to very, very sad situations throughout the nation that I would not like to see happen. Bullying does need to be handled correctly with the administration.
Mr. Bentley.
Students need to feel safe and welcomed at their school. And I think, as I said earlier, when kids find their group, that's what happens. And they build relationships. Everything in life is about building relationships. And we have an amazing staff here that builds relationships with their students. I said I have 3 kids. I think every one of them has a staff member that they can go to if they need it. So if they're having a problem with somebody or whatever, I would hope my kids can go to that staff member and, you know, maybe let them know where that staff member can deal with it. So my kids don't have to punch anybody or anything like that to deal with it. You know, they'll talk it, and hopefully they have a positive relationship with that staff member that they can help do something about it.
Thank you all. This is a follow-up question for Ms. Kine. What or why were you kicked off social media?
I was kicked off of the parent group because I didn't agree that people who were biological males or females should share the same bathrooms as the students that are of a different sex. I think that they should use the appropriate bathroom, or you're going to have a situation like in Loudon, Virginia, where somebody is raped or beaten up in the bathroom. Men are typically stronger than women. And then you're also going to be put in a situation where you have a bunch of high hormone teenagers that they will just sneak off into the same bathroom and say, well, you know, it'll be an excuse. I identify this way. If you need to have a family bathroom or a personal bathroom, go for it. But the other 98% of students need to feel safe as well. So that's why I got kicked off of the parent group, because of some other people's views that don't agree with me. So that is a lot of the way that this community handles. If they don't agree with you, they'll just cut you out. And I know a lot of the community won't agree with me.
Thank you for answering. Next question. What can the board do to encourage and support better and more frequent communication between schools, principals and teachers, and the parent community? And we'll start with you, Ms. Khan.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. What can the board do to encourage and support better and more frequent communication with teachers and principals and the parent community?
Well, they can start by inviting them in the buildings to actually interact with the teachers without an appointment. That would be step one. I loved walking my kids into school and chatting with the teachers every day and after school. I loved walking my students to class. It's important that you show your child that you're a part of their education, and that all went away. I'm not sure why the parents are still being kept out here. There isn't really parent-teacher engagement unless it's on the phone. So step one would to be open the doors. I don't know why we have the doors locked. I don't think there's a big COVID issue right now. If there's a safety issue, hire security officers. I'm not sure why parents are being kept out from the community. You know, I know that teachers are very vigilant in emailing the parents and stuff, but there's nothing like seeing somebody face to face and engaging with them. That means a lot to the community.
Thank you. Mr. Ortiz.
I would think most of it comes down to the point where administrators don't like to admit they're wrong. We are all wrong at one time or another. We're not always 100% right. And to sit there and tell a parent that they don't know what they're talking about, or they say, I'm the teacher, you're just the parent. This actually happened to my daughter with her child in school. Told, I'm the teacher, you're the parent, I know your kid better than you do. Well, that teacher's no longer there because she kicked up such a fuss. They got rid of her. So when you think that you're smarter than a parent or smarter than anybody, an administrator, a teacher, a student, it doesn't matter. You have to give them that respect and listen to what they have to say, because something might ring off in your head and say, bing, they're right, and I'm wrong. But they're so arrogant, they don't want to admit they're wrong. And that's just the way people are. So we have to keep an open mind, listen, and actually hear what the other person is saying, and then make your judgment from there. Not just assume that they're wrong. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bentley.
What can the board do to encourage and support better and frequent communication between parents and community? I would say keep doing what you're doing. I'm a working, full-time dad. I know exactly what was going on in my kids' elementary school because Ms. Aldridge sent an email every week. I know what's going on in their middle school because not only do I receive a newsletter from the vice principal, but I also receive something from my students' teachers each week. Every Sunday night, I know I get an email from the principal of the high school. So I know what's going on. Most of you that are in the district also know we get robocalls. All right, I get that sent to my phone and my cell phone and an email and a text every time something goes on. So I like to feel that I know what's going on in the community. And also, I say attend things. You attend things and you talk to teachers. I was just at the soccer game before here. I talked to 3 different teachers. Just what's going on in their classroom, just talking with them, building that relationship, being out and visible. So I would say keep doing what you're doing.
Mr. Moore.
Yes, I would echo the comments of Trustee Bentley as well. Again, keep doing what you're doing. The parent engagement is vital to making sure that you have those conversations. You build relationships, as was mentioned earlier. with the teachers, with the school that, your child attends, that you're learning. And in general, just in terms of the community, it comes back to communication, celebrating our wins, acknowledging our faults and where we're short, and how we're taking steps to correct any issue. So engagement, communication, openness, and just, once again, just making sure that we're all available to answer any questions that may be out there, being truthful about it, and following up and being accountable.
Thank you. Next question. The parent was aware of a situation in the middle school. A threat was made and an email was sent to middle school parents. Would you support an email going to all parents for awareness? And we'll start with Mr. Bentley.
I have a student in the middle school, so I received that email. I felt like I was made aware of the situation, and they realized it wasn't a big deal, and it was handled. Does that need to go to every school? Probably not. I mean, because if it's not dealing with your school, I guess that information doesn't, it doesn't affect your life one way or the other of that. So, I mean, if they did, I don't see anything wrong with doing that, but I don't think it's needed.
Mr. Ortiz.
No. Simply, when we were in Scouts, we had a little campfire going, and you play the game where you tell one person a story, and that person tells the next person a story, and that one goes on and on. So by the time it gets to you, it's totally changed. So if you send out, and one parent calls another parent, they're going to say, oh, they pulled a gun on the kid and shot him in the nose. Another person's going to say, well, they hit him with a club with a chair. So, no, it shouldn't be. It should be kept in-house and affect the people that it directly affects. Because once you let the story get out, it's going to have a life of its own, and it's going to go on and on and on and be worse than it started.
Ms. Kine.
It should definitely just stay within that school or in that classroom. I know that parents have enough drama to deal with day to day. They don't need to be worrying about what's going on in all the other schools. So it should just be kept in that school or in that classroom, depending on what the offense is.
Mr. Moore.
Because of the nature and of the situation, I believe that it is not necessary for the communication to go out to all members of the district. I understand why that question would be asked, but again, it can quickly add to confusion and unnecessary worry at the time. So going out to just that school, keeping it and addressing the issue at hand is best in this case.
Thank you. Next question. Students with disabilities are struggling the most right now. What is one thing Lincoln Consolidated Schools is doing right now for students with disabilities? What is one new thing you think should be done? And what will you do to learn about the rights and needs of students with an IEP or a 504 plan? We'll start with Ms. Kine.
Well, I can't tell you particularly what they're doing because, I'm not on the board, but when my child was part of Child's Elementary, they had a wonderful special needs program in that school particularly. I think that is the school for elementary students that is specified for special needs students. Now, I understand that not all special needs students need to be in a secluded room, so we need to make sure that all students have the right to their IEPs and are getting them as they should be. I know all across Michigan, all across the nation, students are having trouble getting their IEPs, so we need to get more workers or people to work within the schools, lawyers, to make sure that children are getting what they need and what they need to grow within the community. So that comes first, making sure the students are equipped with what they need to grow with our community to thrive.
Thank you. Mr. Ortiz.
Every child, regardless of whether they're healthy or they're not or whatever you want to call them, Every child has something to contribute to the community and to the school. No child should ever be shunned or pushed aside or thrown in a closet and say, we don't want to see you, we don't look at you because you're different than us. What makes them different from you? That child may look at you and think, wow, there's something wrong with you, and not with me. It's like, when I was at school, we had a teacher, who was a good guy. He would take, and they made fun of this young lady because she had thick glasses. He took a pair of glasses and he put petroleum jelly all over the glasses and made them wear that kid wore those glasses all day so he could sense what it's like for her to walk around the school and get around like he did. And he didn't like it. He kept walking into things, dropping things. And I think once a normal child, as they would say, experiences what it's like to be in a wheelchair, they'll have a different outlook on things. And I think every class or every school should have a class dedicated to see what's it like to walk in another person's shoes. And that'll change their mind. Thank you.
Mr. Bentley.
We need teachers to work with these students, special ed teachers, like bus drivers, like classroom teachers. A good guy and cares about them and build that relationship and become trusting in police officers. So I think that's great to have him here.
Mr. Moore.
It is great to have an officer actually in the building to build the relationships. Again, it's a sad day, the fact that security is needed in schools, in a place of education, but it's important that the children see that there are officers that care. I'm not gonna lie, being a black man, I've been pulled over many times for what they consider driving while black. But it's one of those things that you learn, and as you build relationships, you know, I'm 30, 40, 50 years old. I'm 46, but right, sorry. Just, I have a mental capacity that's different than, you know, a new driver, somebody that's 17, 18. So it's very fearful thinking of my son getting out there and getting pulled over and not know the proper steps. So we have to kind of educate and make sure that everybody knows what's going on. And while we still celebrate the uniqueness, it's unfortunate that black parents have to have the talk with their kids about what happens when they get pulled over. But it's a fact of life, and that's not changing anytime soon. So do I wish it would change soon? Yes, but it's still the fact that it is happening. And as we learn and grow, we'll just have to help them develop sooner than later. You know, just teaching them little things to make sure. Racism, we would love for it to go away and not exist and not be a problem. That's not the world we live in. But we can take steps to alleviate and make sure, like I said, at the end of the day, everybody wants to get home safely. The police officer wants to get home safely. We want our students to come home safely. So at the end of the day, we just need to make sure that we communicate and just have, take a deep breath and proceed with caution, if you will. So I wish I could say it in a better, more eloquent way, but that's the facts of life right there.
Thank you, Ms. Khan.
Yeah, having police presence in schools, I think, is a nice thing. Now, is this person talking about getting arrested in schools or outside of schools?
I believe it's just in the zip codes 4819 and 97 and 98.
Okay.
So in the community.
So, yeah, the schools could work with the community and the police force to have, you know, to have gatherings where, you know, the students ask the police questions, you know, they engage with the students. I have seen many black police officers, so I can't imagine that they're playing black on black crimes in this area. I just think to work with the community and tell them that they're not all bad. You know, I have to explain to my kids that police are not all bad. They're not there to shoot you. Can it happen? Well, yeah, but you know, are they bad if they give you a ticket? Mom got a ticket. No, I did something wrong. They're not. They're there to to keep the peace. So if we have better community engagement with the local police enforcement, I think that would be good to relax the younger generation's nerves on the bad thoughts of having a police in our area.
Mr. Ortiz?
Violence produces violence. If a police officer pulls a young man over and he starts thinking he's a Philadelphia lawyer and he's going to tell him what his job is and what he's not going to do, you're going to put up a web between him and that person. We have to teach these young people, be respectful, show kindness. You don't have to roll over and die, but be respectful. The man has a badge. He's got a gun. He has the ability to use it if he has to. But if you tell that officer, yes, sir, no, sir, you want to see him out, and give it to him, and you have to teach this to the young people. You're not a Philadelphia lawyer. You're not God. You're just a small little peg in a big machine. And if you want to survive that machine, you have to show some respect and just give him what he wants. If he wants your license, give him your license. I'm Hispanic. And I hear people say black on black. I was driving black. All right, I'm Hispanic. I've been pulled over, and as a smart aleck when I was a kid, he said, "Where's your knife?" And I said, "What knife? You want my gun?" Well, they tore my... we don't always get along. And we have to say to ourselves, this is politics. This would be politics. You have to learn to get along with the person you're working with. If you work in an office and you don't get along with one of the managers, he can cause you a lot of problems. We have to learn to speak to one another in a civil tone, keep a civil level on your voice, and never talk down to anyone. I don't care how old you are, you don't talk down to them, you talk to them, and you listen to what they have to say and not just hear. And then you can get along with whoever it is you have to get along with. And then you do things to better your community, better your situation, better your board. Thank you.
I'm going to go down the line this time. So, Mr. Bentley.
I feel very fortunate that Lincoln has a strong board right now that works really well together. And that's one of the reasons Jason and I would like to keep this going. We really do work really well together. If there are disagreements, that's about building that relationship with them. You have to assume that everyone on that board has the best intentions, all right? And so when we have had disagreements, things don't always go my way or Jason's way, but we know whoever is bringing it up or, has the majority, that they have the best intentions for all students and staff at Lincoln. And so you just, it's having that relationship that you just trust them.
Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I love my current team right now. It's nice when you go in. You don't have to agree with everything that everybody says, but it's a joy to sit down and actually have a conversation, to hear one point of view, to state your point of view, and you may learn facts and reasons that you did not know beforehand. At the end of the day, does everything go the way that I would like it to go? Absolutely not. But again, nothing's done maliciously. It's for the best interest of the students and to help grow and develop the community. So being able to have that conversation, being able to learn from one another and continue to grow as a team has helped us, which is, again, as Matt said, that's kind of why we want to keep going, because we enjoy the fact that, you know what, we're going to try and do what's best for this community, for this district, in order to see that it's the best version of itself.
Thank you. Ms. Kine?
You absolutely have to hash it out, just like in real life situations with other adults. You have to hash it out. You're not always going to agree. You have to come to a conclusion. Usually with the board, that usually goes by however many votes. Sometimes your opinion will win. Sometimes it'll lose. You just have to hash it out. If it's between you and an individual, you have to hash it out just with that person. You have to pull them aside, speak to them like an adult with respect, and that's how you get places, and that's how you come to conclusions. You have to talk about it. You can't just let the skeletons hang in the closet and let it fester in your brain or in your heart, let the fire keep burning. You have to talk to them.
Thank you. Next question. What is the process for parent comment at school board meetings? And the second part is that, how would you recommend parents give public comment to get the results that they're looking for? And we'll start with Ms. Kine.
So you want to know the process of public comment?
Right.
All right. So you're supposed to tell them your name and where you live, but I don't think that's right, and I don't think that's in the new policy anymore. But you have 5 minutes to speak to the board, and at that point they just kind of sit there and stare at you until they get back with you until the 2 weeks via email. And unfortunately, with this board, I have found that the questions are usually not answered and walked around. So that's kind of the process with this board. I'd like there to be more solutions with this board, and better parent interaction. I know none of my questions usually get answered. They're always tiptoed around. But the process is usually getting back within 2 weeks. They give you an email, and they say the next time that they hold a session that they did their job and contacted and everything went A-okay.
So what would be your recommendation on getting things done? So if you were elected, how would you change that process?
While I think that we shouldn't rely on just the superintendent or the president to get the job done, maybe the other board members, since they are tagged in the emails, maybe they can jump in on it, or maybe even a phone call, so you can actually speak back and forth, not say this is the way it's going to be and that's that. So you need to actually have a conversation and not a one-way message and say, I did my job. You have to have a conversation.
Thank you.
Mr. Moore?
The process is, as stated, making sure that if you do have a public comment, making sure that you sign in with your name, address, phone number for follow-up conversation. Currently, the board generally does not respond immediately during the comment section, because it could be one parent commenting, it could be another. In order to make sure that everybody gets an equal opportunity to speak, we limit the comments to 5 minutes. A parent is able to say their piece. If they have notes or documentation, they usually give that to the board members so that we can accurately and fully answer any and all questions. After that, that opens up a dialogue for either the superintendent or the chosen representative, which is generally the president of the board, to communicate back and forth with the person leaving the comment. Whether it's an email or phone call, it varies and it depends, but it generally starts off with making sure we get back within a certain amount of time. I'm happy with that process. If it's something that delves into another board member's expertise, it may be that board member may be targeted, or not targeted, but tapped to respond instead of just the president or just the superintendent. But for the general, the representative that we have elected to speak has been the president of the board.
Mr. Bentley?
As the other candidates have said, the process, the parents come and speak in front of the board, and then either the board president or the superintendent gets back to them. I think that's a great way to do it, because we are one unified voice. This is not Jason Moore's school board. This is not Matt Bentley's school board. This is Lincoln Consolidated School Board. And as one person, and it's our board president, is a designated voice, she speaks for all of us. Now, if there's an issue, she talks to us on the side to hear our thoughts, what we think, but she is the voice of our district. We are a unified district, and we work well that way. And that's part of the having relationship and building respect with others on the board, that we trust her to deliver the message, and she trusts us to listen to us. So even though it's coming from one, it's all of our input in that response. As far as what I recommend to parents, if there's an issue, I tell them to come talk to the board. Because if you're talking to one at a football game or one at a baseball game, it doesn't get always to everybody. All right, so I tell people, just come talk to the board. That way we know about it and we know that issue's out there. Otherwise, if we don't know about it, we can't do anything about it.
Thank you. Mr. Ortiz?
Every parent has a right, because they have skin in the game, they have a kid in school. So you have a right to vent anything you want to say. This is America. If you want to say something derogatory to a teacher or to a school board member, you have that right. You're not going to fall apart, you're not going to crumble up and die, but you as a parent have the right to say whatever you want to say, as long as you're not threatening. Because as long as you have a child and you're paying your taxes and you got your kid in the school, you're doing everything you have to do to work with the school and school board, you have the right to say whatever you want to say, and no one has the right to cut you short and tell you, that's it, you're done, we don't want to hear it. Because, again, your right to speak is granted by the Constitution, and you have the right to say whatever you want. But just remember, you may not like the answer you're going to get, so be careful in what you ask. You might get it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from the audience? There's one last question here that I have. We spoke about the budget earlier. How transparent is the board when they're working on the budget? Does that come up in public meetings? Can the public come to budget meetings? Mr. Bentley.
Yes, our district is very transparent about it. I printed off our budget off our website today to bring here because if you knew a couple years ago we were in a deficit. We are not. Our fund balance is getting higher every year, so we're being smart with our money. But to answer your question, yes, parents can come see it. It's on the website, and I think the budget is discussed. I said, Jason, I've only been on a year and a half. I think it's discussed in June, and every meeting is open to the public.
Ms. Kine, what are your feelings on that?
They usually do a pretty good job at discussing the budget and going down the line on what all their expenses were. I don't know if it's because they have a new firm for their handbooks or whatnot, but this past month I didn't see a scroll of budgets at all. So I don't know if they're going to continue to keep it like that or if they're going to continue to be transparent with their budgeting. So I'd like to see dollar for dollar where that money is going, and I think the community would like to see that too.
Thank you. Mr. Ortiz.
Well, as a taxpayer, that's your money, boards, whether it's a school board or a township board or the executive board, no matter what it is, it's your money they're playing with. You have the right to know where every penny's going and where they're allocating their pennies. And for them to say, no, you have to just trust us. I got some land I got to sell you, and I'll give it to you cheap at a really good price. Because it's your money, you're responsible to pay that money, and you're responsible to oversee where that money is spent. And if you have questions or you challenge it, that's your right to challenge. People on a board are not gods. They are human beings just like you. And if you don't like how they're spending the money, you let them know, speak up, or forever hold your peace. Thank you.
Mr. Moore.
Again, as Mr. Bentley said earlier, our board is very transparent. Our budget is listed on the website and it's kept up to date. At each board meeting, we generally go through line by line what the expenditures are, revenue, and it's there for people to see. Again, it's located on our website, lincolnk12.org if you want to go fact check me right now. But that information is available for the public to see.
Thank you very much. That concludes the question and answer I'm going to turn it over to Perry, but for me, I would just like to thank the candidates tonight for being very forthcoming. I appreciate your time, being here on a Wednesday. Today Wednesday? Thursday. That's my brain. Thank you, the audience, for paying attention and sticking with us. We hope we got your questions answered. We appreciate your time, and thank you. Here's Perry.
If you got a question, I'll put that over.
That's it. A reminder to scan the QR code and fill that out and commit to be an education justice voter and think about some other ways that you can get involved. For people who are here in the flesh, please at least put your name so we have a good count of who is here. And just thanks so much to the candidates for, being willing to spend time for your community and to be transparent with the answers to these questions. And I heard yeses to our quick fire, so you'll be hearing from Andre and I about how we can work together on some of those issues. So we're excited about that. Thanks so much to We Rock and Can for being here. And Myron from SAC, he spends a lot of time in this building working with students. So anyway, we appreciate you all, appreciate folks who came out. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.